Hello and welcome to the Bundesliga show, the predictions edition of the show. As you can see, I'm joined here on this fine Thursday evening by Peter Weiss. How are you doing over there, Peter?
Doing fantastic, Mark. It's it's wonderful to see you. Happy Thanksgiving. God bless us, one and all. And the American holiday, of course, but thanks to Black Friday and Black Week, I guess it's a global holiday now. But anyway, I'm pleased as punch to be here with you again. And yes, my apologies for some of the poor European tips on Monday's pod, but I have my kicker. I've written 12 articles today. I've been studying and scouting, and I even brought a new pipe. How do you like or a new prop? How do you like this pipe?
Wow, pipe. Jeez, yeah, you're going for the Klaus Topmuller style. Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Yeah, I like it. Hey, how are you celebrating tonight, Peter? By the way, obviously with us on the show, but are you celebrating Thanksgiving? I'd actually, to be honest, forgotten that it actually was Thanksgiving tonight. So thanks for reminding me of that.
I forgot too, Mark. I'm celebrating with you. So I'm digging into a feast of German football. There's a cornucopia of wonderful Bundesliga to discuss. That's how I'm celebrating.
Celebrating with the Bundesliga show in the Europa League, I guess. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So what more can you want? Yeah. Anyway, without much further ado, obviously we've got a big weekend ahead of us. Match week 12 of the Bundesliga season. Obviously, we've got about another 3 weeks or so before the winter break. So, it's all happening really at this stage of the season. We got a lot of big matches this weekend, matches at the top, the bottom, as the season's really starting to hot up a little bit as we kind of get a little bit close to the midpoint of this season. So let's start on Friday night with what looks like quite an intriguing game, Peter, doesn't it? Tradition versus Red Bull. Gladbach, 3 wins out of 3 now, 3 wins on the spin, and a lot of really comfortable wins out there as well. Obviously defeating Heidenheim very comfortably 3-0 on the road last week. Obviously, Leipzig got back to winning ways themselves as well, defeating Werder Bremen 2-0 at home at the Red Bull Arena. So this is 2 teams in pretty good form overall on Friday night. It seems like it's been a while since we saw a really good Friday night game this season, really, doesn't it? I mean, there's not been many great Friday night curtain raisers this season, but this is one that definitely promises to be a good game. Obviously, Tabakovic once again getting on the score sheet last week. That's now 7 league goals for him. Very, very impressive numbers for the much maligned centre forward. And maybe Kleindienst isn't so needed after all for the Foles up top there. Obviously, for Leipzig, they're still going very strong. The likes of Seiwald has really impressed in recent weeks as well. I believe that this is a tough one to tip, to be honest, on the Friday evening curtain raiser. But I don't know why, but I'm tempted to go for a shock here. I just feel as though the hosts are really looking good again. 4 wins in all comps. Obviously, Polanski has really turned around the fortunes of the Foles there. So I'm going to go for a shock here. A lot of people might be surprised to hear this, and I'm sure if Justin is listening, he's not going to be too happy about this tip. But I've gone for a very surprising 2-1 Gladbach win. I just feel as though the form that they're on, the chance creation, and the improving atmosphere at Borussia Park is going to really help them get over the line in this one. So I've gone for a shock 2-1 for the Foles here at Gladbach. Peter, do we concur on this one?
We concur precisely, my good man.
Wow.
Exactly. We're both going to be tipping this. This should be a good match, and I highly recommend that people watch it. Of course, it's running counter to the UEFA Women's Nations League final at the Betze in Kaiserslautern, which obviously I have to attend as a women's footballing advocate, enthusiast, and reporter there in Kaiserslautern. But you're right about your feeling in this one for several reasons. First and foremost, we have Tabakovic. I like Tabakovic. I like.
That is a good one. I'll give you that one. Yeah.
He is now the Bundesliga's 3rd leading goal scorer. We discussed this a little bit on the Monday night pod, and now with Jonathan Burkhardt hurt, it might not be long before he's chasing Harry Kane. And he is very much a much maligned striker. I thought he was going to be a complete and total flop, as he was for Hoffenheim last season. But I actually wrote an article today in which I was translating the Sportbild interview, the interview in the print edition of Sportbild, in which Tabakovic talked about how Harry Kane helped him refine and advance his game. With Leipzig, we have injury issues. Romelu, the Brazilian striker, remains out, which means this is going to be another start for the Danish striker Konrad Harder, who I am not quite sold on at the moment. I think he has a irritating Jonas Wind quality about him. Might have something to do with the fact that both players have enormous square faces. I should be one to talk myself. And of course, the horrible news, the devastating news, is that Asan Ouedraogo is hurt again. This poor kid whose career was really taking off with that fabulous goal for the German national team, and also that incredible distance effort against Bremen last week, is out. So we're looking at Harder. I would imagine that Ole Werner is going to start Schlager and probably move Schlager up alongside Baumgartner. That's would be what I would do with Seiwald still pulling the strings as a solo six in midfield. But the form that Gladbach are in, and Tim Kleindienst has already made an appearance. It was granted a useless 2-minute appearance there in injury time against his old club Heidenheim last week. But I do fancy now that Frank Rot is healthy and running up there as sort of as a pseudo service striker alongside Tabakovic and perhaps Kleindienst on the bench. I'm fancying a 2-1 victory here. It could be even more lopsided. We could get I was toying around with the idea of a 3-1, a 4-1 for Gladbach in this one. But it should be a good game. And maybe, as you pointed out, our best Friday night curtain raiser in a good long while. That would be fitting, as I will not be able to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a big choice. Are we going to watch the Nations League women's final, or are we going to watch the Bundesliga this Friday evening? But maybe if you have 2 TVs, it's a good time to invest, really, in that one. So yeah, let's move on to Saturday's games. A game that won't get the mouth watering quite as much as the Friday night game. Bayern versus St. Pauli. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, many would say it's the best against the worst team in the Bundesliga, really, this one. I mean, obviously, Bayern faced the first defeat of the season midweek against Arsenal, where they were kind of bullied by the Premier League leaders a little bit physically. I felt more than anything. They couldn't quite get to terms with the extremely physical side of this modern Arsenal team. I didn't feel as though they were bad. Obviously, Leonard Carl had a big article on the BBC this week, which proves that he must be doing something right. They compared him to Messi style, actually, in that article. So, you know, I think German fanatics would be quite happy if he turns out to be Messi, let's say that. But definitely a very impressive youngster, and he seems to have cemented himself in that first team lineup as well nowadays, which is quite impressive. But I mean, what can you say about Bayern? I still don't think they'll worry too much about the Arsenal defeat. As I say, they were largely out-muscled a little bit, but they'll learn from that and they'll come back into this game in relatively high spirits, I would imagine. As for Pauli, I mean, I'm running out of words to say about how bad they are up front nowadays. I mean, I still can't get over it. I have nightmares thinking that they scored 7 goals in the first 3 games. I mean, I'm not sure they'll score another 7 goals all season, to be honest with you. They're that bad. Yeah, I mean, Huntonji has just completely gone off the ropes altogether. Kars isn't good enough. Lager isn't really good enough. It's just, you know, Fujita hasn't really hit the ropes in truth as an attacking threat. I mean, defensively, they're relatively solid still. They don't concede bags of goals. I mean, they've only conceded 21 goals this season, actually, which is nowhere near the highest number in the Bundesliga. But I mean, they're absolutely hemorrhaging up front. They barely even create chances. That's the problem for them. They don't really create, let alone score. So it's impossible to tip a goal for them against this Bayern Munich side in this game. I don't think we'll see a vintage Bayern performance here because they just simply won't need it, basically, to beat this weak St. Pauli side. So I've gone for a 3-0 here. I don't think we'll see an absolute cricket score in this one. But I think, Peter, do we sync up on this one?
Well, we sync up in the fact that we believe that Pauli will be shut out. I'm going to go with 6 goals for Bayern. Poor Alexander Blessen. The situation reminds me a little bit of Urs Fischer's final days with Union, maybe even Timo Hardung's, the former Köln trainer, his final days with Pauli in the Zweite Bundesliga. The team is not particularly terrible. They're just going through an absolute confidence crisis. And I hate to say this, but Jackson Irvine's return has been quite detrimental to the team. It's been trying to figure out a way to work him into midfield when Sands and Fujita were really the better pairing. The problem with this is that you remember the cliche we always kind of make fun of on this podcast about the Bayern reaction match.
Yeah.
Exactly what
classic Kimmich. We need a reaction. Yeah.
Or Müller or whatever. We wanted to, or Neuer for that matter. We need to show a reaction. And Blessen at his presser today was talking about Bayern's corner defendings. It's not really possible for Bayern to defend on poorly as corners as they did against Freiburg and Arsenal midweek. And Neuer is, of course, one who's really going to show a reaction in this one. I'm very, very glad that his talk of returning to the national team is over after he completely rushed out of net there against Arsenal. But yeah, this one is going to be an absolute slaughter. Bayern can rotate. I mean, they will rotate because they have a rematch with Union in the Pokal midweek. So Company's obviously going to rotate heavy, but it doesn't matter. He can put in his B11, he can put in his C11 at home after this Arsenal disappointment. Of course, this is going to be a slaughter and a totally uncompetitive game. And there are all sorts of interesting articles sort of filtering through German footballing publications about what happened to St. Pauli. I've been tempted to write one myself, but I think that the real reason is that these players were playing above their level in getting those 7 points over the course of the first 3 games, and now they're crashing back down to earth. And that was entirely foreseeable, and that was entirely predictable. And I hope that Blessen doesn't get the axe for this, because it will be, after all, 8 straight defeats now?
9. It will be a 9th, this one.
Yeah. So, I mean, you saw this with Fischer, you saw this with Bo Svensson a little bit at Mainz, you saw it with Hardung at St. Pauli. Sometimes you have a good coach, but the bad run of form can no longer be ignored. And that's always highly disappointing when that happens. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope they give him a little bit more time. But yeah, he's not going to look good after this match. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 9 straight defeats would be pretty damning, let's be honest. It really would. Anyway, let's move on to another game, which should get the pulse raising a little bit more. It's a great game between 2 great tradition clubs. It's Werder Bremen versus the FC Köln. I mean, this is a game with, it should be a great atmosphere over there at the Weser Stadion for this one. I actually saw the interview last week. I think it was from Schmid, I believe. He said that he thought they played better in the defeat against Leipzig than he had done in the 4 or 5 games unbeaten prior to that, actually. And I would kind of concur in some ways, because I think we talked about it, Peter, a couple of weeks ago. I feel as though Bremen have overachieved. I think the results have been better than the performances at times this season, really. I think they've had a lot of late goals. They've been a team for the late goals. And, they've had a couple of turnaround wins as well. I think the Wolfsburg one, when they got 2 goals in the last 5 minutes to turn that game around. They had another one. They got a last minute equalizer against Leverkusen as well. And there have been a number of others too, where they've struck very late in games. So that's definitely going to be something to look out for in this game. Late goals potentially for the SVW. As for Köln, it's kind of gone a little bit off in recent times. I mean, they're still great to watch. They're still a fun team to watch, without doubt. But defensively, it has kind of fallen apart a little bit. I mean, obviously, last week, we saw them give away quite a lot of soft goals against Frankfurt. I mean, obviously, Frankfurt are a very competent attacking team themselves, so I wouldn't be too worried. But if you look at, I feel as though Schwaber's form has dropped a little bit from the early season because he was absolutely electric in the first 5-6 games. He was just saving shot after shot. He's gone off a little bit. I think the fact that Hubers isn't there isn't helping as well at the minute, to be honest. They need him. I think that centre-half partnership last week of Dominique Heinz and Joel Schmid is not the best, if I'm being honest with you. And I mean, I think they know that as well. They do have a few injuries in defence, which could affect them in this one. As for the tip in this one, I still feel as though, Bremen have got a decent team. They've still not got even a whistle out of Victor Boniface, basically. I'll go that far, let alone a tune. So I've kind of given up expecting anything from him, and I fully expect that he'll return to Leverkusen in the January, to be honest with you. I just don't see him staying there for the full season. But they still have enough quality. Jens Stage is back on form. Schmid is always a threat in that side. And Jinma, we've not quite seen the best of him either, but, Gruel could have one of his better days. So I'm struggling with this one a bit, but I think considering that Köln have lost the last 2 games, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw here. Actually, I think this could be a game where the two sides cancel each other out. So yeah, I'm going to stick with 1-1 there, Peter.
I'll disagree with you on this one, and I struggled a lot with it myself. There's a lot of things to take into account here. In Köln's case, we do have some injury concerns. Ragnar Ache, my former Kaiserslautern friend there, is out injured. He provided that lovely assist last week. Schmid is also done for a good long while, but I think that could actually be a good thing. As a matter of fact, Dominic Heinz, also another Kaiserslautern, he's from Neustadt. But I was joking on Monday's pod that he probably should have retired at the Zweite Bundesliga level. I mean, always one of my favorite players, including when he played for Union and when he filled in as a left back for Bochum during that 23 or 2022-23 season. But yeah, he's not in great form. So an interesting presser from Kwasniak in which he actually revealed a great deal of what he was thinking tactically. And what's going to happen is that Ralf Vandenberg, Sepp Vandenberg's younger brother, is finally going to get his chance in central defense. I am going to go ahead and project a back 3 of Vandenberg, Martel, and Heinz. I think that Heinz would benefit from that, and you're going to get some extra protection from the wing backs, because what he's going to do is he's going to move Kaminsky back to take over for this American kid. What's his name? Well, he's half American, Lund, who's been fairly lousy. In terms of who replaces Ache, well, you always have Said El Mala, so you can put El Mala there on the left. You can have Bülter work as the lone striker. You can put Waldschmidt there beneath. And I do like what Köln have been doing as of late. I mean, Kwasniak has brought a lot out of some very bang average players. Dennis Hussein Basic is back starting for Köln these days. Isn't that incredible? And when we talk about Bremen, you're absolutely right about Victor Boniface. You and I have been trading text messages when it comes to his Instagram. Yeah. I don't even have Instagram, and I don't even want to get it thanks to what I'm reading from Boniface. This guy, as I told you, is the Forrest Gump of German football. And he has KK Top starting above him. No. You referenced the Schmid interview, and I thought that was kind of interesting because I thought it was one of Schmid's poorer games. He wasn't particularly good at all, I think. Friedel was very good as a makeshift left back, and Stage he continues to look strong. But I don't like this Horst Steffen Bremen. I really do think that they have been mismanaged on a personnel level a great deal this season. They've had some bad luck too, of course. And who could have really foreseen that Boniface would have been as big a bust as he was? So they've done their best. I think that they'll defend well and hold Köln to just 1 goal, but I'm going 1-0 victory for Die Geisböcke, the Cathedral City side. the guests in this one.
Wow, big tip there, yeah, but definitely well researched, that one. So yeah, let's move on to the next game, which is going to be Union Berlin versus Heidenheim. Yeah, I mean, what can you say about these two teams? I mean, Union are really exceeding expectations. I think we can go that far at the moment. I think obviously the last home game was that magnificent performance against Bayern, where they were seconds really away from winning that game, but they still managed to get a very well-earned point, which is, I mean, obviously still the only team to have taken a point off Bayern so far this season in the league. It could easily have been 3, couldn't it? So big respect there. They backed up that superb performance with I wouldn't say an impressive win at St. Pauli, but they did what they had to do. They have to win those kind of games if they want to get back up into the top half of the table, and that's what they've been doing this season. I feel as though it's been overall a good season from Union under Stefan Baumgart, because so many people were tipping them to go down at the beginning of the season. Let's not forget that, or at least finish in the playoff spot. I never really quite concurred with those views that Union were going to be so bad. I think you did and Rory did as well. I think there were, and I also watched a few other pods saying that they also fancied Union to really struggle, but I never quite thought it would be that bad. And as it happens, it's really proved not to be that bad at all. And they currently sit in 8th place, and they probably feel as though they could have had a few more points to what they've already had, actually. They've conceded a few late goals, which is frustrating for them. But overall, it's been a really good season with 15 points through 11 games. This is a game that they'll definitely look at as another winnable one to potentially go up to 18 points through 12. Heidenheim have really dropped off in recent weeks, as far as I'm concerned. And I felt as though early doors they were playing quite well, but not really getting the results they deserve. But recently it's fallen apart for them, really. And I thought they were poor again, really poor against Gladbach last week. They're really struggling. They've got nothing up top at all, basically. And Zivzivadze continues to disappoint more or less every match. Yeah, you know, Scherpner hasn't been quite as good this season as he was last season, who obviously he was a big reason why they stayed up last year. And I just don't see any goal threat right now from them at all. So I'm going to see another shutout from them. I think a 2-0, a very, very comfortable routine 2-0 Union Berlin win in this one. Peter?
Well, I mean, this was another one that I struggled with because obviously, I mean, Heidenheim, it really is going to pot. Frank Schmidt held a presser in which he said he was pressing the nuclear option button. I'm not quite sure that phrase really rolled off the tongue as I envisioned it doing. But at any rate, he said, I'm reconsidering all 10 outfield positions. I don't think it matters if he does or not, to be honest. So they really are so bad. And, you know, Zivzivadze, I believe, has been ruled out, so you'll appreciate that. But, you know, can they really hope to score a goal away against a very good defensive team with Marvin Pieringa spearheading the attack? And I mean,
this is a bottom half Zweite team for me, really.
Yes.
If they went with that roster into the Zweite Liga, they wouldn't be in the top half. I guarantee it. So
very much agreed. Very much agreed. You know, I do think Union could be performing a great deal better, and that they could have performed a great deal better last week as well. Somehow, and watch me be proved wrong about this. Watch it end up like the 4-4 that we saw at the Stadion on the Alte Försterei against Stuttgart. Yeah. But I'm tipping a 0-0 draw in this case. These teams are going to cancel each other out, and it's going to be an absolute the bore of the Saturday afternoon kickoffs. That's just my intuition.
Yeah. I think it was the game that I tipped 0-0 between Hamburg and Union. I don't know if it was us that did it, Peter, or whether I did it with Cam. But he went for a comfortable Union win, and I said no, this is going to be a 0-0 because I could foresee that Union were going to have all the ball, but they were just going to not be able to get through the defense. But I've got a little bit more confidence in Union these days, you know, to get that goal, especially after getting a couple against Bayern. I know most of the goals are still via set plays, in truth, but you know, they do have that outlet, especially through Dookie, to go and knock one in. So I still think they'll get the win, but definitely, yeah, I think Heidenheim definitely need that point. Let's go that far. So, Yeah, let's move on. So another game, obviously dear to my heart. It's obviously the Hoffenheim against still Sandro Wagner's FCA. I had a feeling, Peter, that the next time we spoke, we were going to be talking about a new man. I think both of us expected the HSV to get a result of the FCR last week, but obviously it didn't work out, and the FCR got a very, very rare win under Sandro Wagner. And I would go as far as saying it was a deserved win as well. They did play pretty well in the game, I felt. They created a few chances. Is it going to be enough to sustain a push towards mid-table? Probably not, because the HSV have obviously also hit a poor run themselves. So I'm not sure quite how much you can read into that win, but a win nonetheless, and it does make the table look a little bit better in the Augustus Vindelicum, doesn't it? So, yeah. Anyway, as for this game, they travel away to Hoffenheim, who are obviously a team who are in much, much better vein of form. They will be a little bit disappointed for not beating Mainz last week. Obviously, they got the early goal, but just didn't seem to quite kick on after that. And they will be very frustrated to concede in the last 15 minutes of that match, in a game where they would very much have expected to pick up 3 points, to be honest. This is another game they'll expect to pick up 3 points. FCA only won once on the road this season, and that was on the opening day at Freiburg. And since then, they've been pretty wretched on the road, in truth, losing at the likes of Pauli, Heidenheim. I don't even want to think about some of the results the FCA have had on the road this season, to be honest. But this is a game where they will be pretty big underdogs coming into this one. Obviously, Hoffenheim have got bags of attacking talent, Aslani, Damar, Toure. They've just got Kramaric at times. They should have too much for the FCA, unfortunately. I think, obviously Schlotterbeck is out for FCA as well. Zessiger has just had a car crash of a season. So they're going to have to bring him back in, which is worrying, to be honest, after being so poor so far this season. So I've gone for a 3-1 here. I think Hoffenheim will put them away relatively comfortably, to be honest. Peter?
Well, we nearly sync up exactly. I'm actually going to go for another shutout in this instance and say that it's 3-0 for Hoffenheim. I'm so sorry, Mark, but Count Wagner just keeps, he keeps climbing into his coffin. I really do. I thought that was great. That I used some Bach on that vlog, which also happens to be the Dracula theme song, and was quite inspired when I saw that promotional poster of Sandro Wagner looking like Vlad the Impaler. That guy we used to have. He was a Gladbach fan, DM or something. He used to come check in and hang with us.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I remember him.
So Wagner is doing his best Vlad the Impaler. And I have to say, oh God, what happened at the presser today? Sandro Wagner, here's the thing. Hoffenheim revived his career late on. It was thanks to Hoffenheim that he was ultimately able to transfer back to Bayern and there, get a few German national team call-ups late in his career. So Sandro Wagner owes a great deal to Hoffenheim. And at his press conference today, he defended the club, which is fine. He said that there were a lot of nice people who worked there, which is true. But he also said that Dietmar Hopp is a really outstanding guy. So I've gone from loving Sandro Wagner to absolutely despising this man over the course of 3 short months, based on his mismanagement of Augsburg, based on his incoherent pressers, based on the fact that he praised Dietmar Hopp as an outstanding individual, also based on the fact that I totally forgot about his awful season playing at Kaiserslautern, but was reminded of it when I reflecting on how badly he's been doing so far. Yeah. So I think, and if I can say something nice about Hoffenheim, I say so many horrible things about Hoffenheim, as a German who doesn't like this club and who doesn't like the Austrians who are running it at the moment. But Christian Ilzer, despite his obnoxious Austrian accent, which sounds like a Swiss accent, has proved to be a very brilliant tactician with this group that he has. I mean, he has very good players, of course. But, we were always talking about that midfield double six access of Abdullahu and Wouter Berger. He split that up. And he's got Abdullahu either running as a bolt-lock sweeper, or he's forming the base of like a 4-4-2 diamond. And he's brought Prömel back, and that works out really well. And he has Kramaric playing as a 10. He's moved Torre up to serve as a striker, either alongside Aslani or Lemperle. I was very, very surprised that didn't work against Mainz last week. I'm not quite sure why it didn't. I mean, they were really a vastly superior football club. So this should be a big win for Hoffenheim. Keep an eye out for the protests from the Hoffenheim fans, the anti-Roger Mittman protests. This is their first home match since the last wave of protests, and they're going to continue to protest what's going on administratively with their club. And if I can say something else nice about Heidenheim, I really, 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 really respect what the fans are doing in defense of their club here, and it almost makes me want to go to Sinsheim to check out a match. Maybe
we'll have to go over again, considering we drive past that stadium pretty much every time we meet. It doesn't matter which direction we're going in, we always go past that stadium. It's like, maybe that's why they built it there, because it's just like on every German autobahn you go past that stadium. Literally, it doesn't matter which direction you go into, Munich, Stuttgart, Karlsruhe, Nuremberg, you're always going to end up going past that stadium. So, but definitely, I think it's going to be a hard, Saturday afternoon for the FCA, as it's been for most of the season, sadly. Anyway, let's move on to the top spiel. We've got Leverkusen, the conquerors of Manchester City. Wow, I mean, what a win that was. Obviously, a famous win, really, for Leverkusen, I would say. And obviously keeping a clean sheet at the Etihad, winning very, very comfortably, in truth, and never really looking in danger. So we've got to give big credit to them for that. And I mean, I know not all Germans will celebrate it too much, obviously, as a company club, but definitely it's a coup for the Bundesliga to, for a non-Bayern team to go and turn over one of the best teams in Europe on their own patch. So we've got to give big credit to the Bayern 04 for that one. Against Dortmund, who are also going well in the Champions League, they had another very easy win against Villarreal in midweek. I would almost go as far to describing them as Champions League specialists these days, really, because they always look a lot better in the Champions League than in the Bundesliga, truth be told. I don't know why that is, because they turn in some stellar performances in the Champions League, but in the league, it just always seems a little bit missing, doesn't it, at times? But yeah, this is going to be a good game. It's two form teams after the midweek results. I think Leverkusen are going quite nicely, truth be told, under Hjulmand. I think he deserves a lot of credit for what he's done there. And, he's got a tune out of a lot of players who, to be honest, early doors were really not playing well at all. They obviously got a very impressive 3-1 last week. Well, I say a very impressive, but an expected 3-1 win last week against Wolfsburg. I feel as though that the lineup is working really well. Schick is back in form. I think Polku has looked good as well. I mean, Grimaldo is the leader of that team now. Grimaldo has gone from being just like one of many good players under Alonso to the leader of the team, in my eyes. And he is, a hell of a player. Probably outside of Bayern, I would say the best player in the Bundesliga for me nowadays. I think he is a just superb player. We've seen Alex Garcia grow into the side as well. And even the defense, the likes of Luis Bade, who started really poorly, has actually looked a bit better in recent weeks. So, yeah, definitely good times on the horizon for Leverkusen. They're obviously third at the moment, but it's still, considering a lot of people were tipping them to be outside of Europe, let alone the Champions League. I mean, it's looking quite good for them right now. So, obviously for Dortmund, it's not looking as good, I wouldn't say, in terms of performances, but obviously results-wise, they are still picking up mostly wins across the board. Obviously, last week they had that that crazy 3-3 game against Stuttgart, where they just couldn't close out the match against the VfB. There were like 3 or 4 times in that match where it looked like they got over the line, but obviously they didn't manage to do that. Guirassy got a goal in that one, but I don't feel as though he's playing his best in the Bundesliga at all at the minute, to be honest. And they need more from him. You know, the likes of Julian Brandt is still way, way too inconsistent. I mean, where they're playing Bayer, I really don't know at times, to be honest. I mean, he's just been such a bizarre transfer. Obviously, he played last week in left wing, you know, so it's left midfield, which is quite bizarre a little bit, really. But you know, he's doing okay, but I've got a feeling we're going to see a Bayern no fear win here. I just feel as though things are really starting to align for them. They are looking good. They must have got huge confidence from that win in Manchester, really. To go to the Etihad and win, it's just a hell of a result. Like, almost nobody goes to the Etihad and win, even in the league or in Europe. So for me, they are going to get a 2-1 win here. It should be a good top spiel, this one, but Leverkusen are rising for me, and I'm going to go for a big win again here for me. Peter.
I will reiterate that I got all 4 of my Champions League tips wrong on Monday. I tipped a humiliating BVB loss, and I thought that there was be no way that a squad with personnel problems like Leverkusen was going to go be able to go to the Etihad and win. I did not see that happening. So curses upon Kasper Hjulmand for making us Germans have to pay attention to Leverkusen once again, because we were kind of looking forward to a year where we could sort of have them on the back burner once again. But unfortunately, what he's done has been pretty damn incredible. And, you know, if you look back to the start of the season and think about this decision to fire Erik ten Hag after 2 match days, everything worked out perfectly, right down to Hjulmand's decision that Ten Hag's choice of captaincy for this team, Robert Andrich, was the wrong choice. And so Andrich, of course, got the captaincy, but Hjulmand could foresee in his tactical wisdom, not to mention his assessment of Andrich's personality, that he was the wrong man to captain this team, that Alejandro Grimaldo was the man who was supposed to lead this team, and the way that he would eventually build his midfield would be with Ibrahim Madza, the former Hertha professional, getting a chance. What he's done with Poku is incredible, because Poku's played in I don't know, 8 different positions at this point, and he's still thriving. He's brought a renaissance to Jonas Hoffmann. He's brought the best out of Malik Tillman, which is no small feat. I like Malik Tillman, but he's a very, very shy boy. Maybe he got a little harder when he was there in Glasgow, as one does. In any case, you know, Dortmund were surprisingly good as well. And talk about a player who can play multiple positions. You have Bayer. Now, Bayer's questionable for this. Which means that we'll probably see Ryerson and Svensson back as the wingbacks. I think that that's okay. I think that Adeyemi, with the form that he's in, hitting everybody with a set of brass knuckles, or as you Brits call it, a knuckle duster.
Yeah,
that was my British word of the week.
Yeah.
So. It sounds a little silly, but since I already got the tips wrong on these 2 teams, I'm going to predict a second consecutive 3-3 draw for Dortmund in the league after Stuttgart. I have a feeling this is the top spiel, and it will live up to its billing in this particular case, because we have 2 teams in a good run of form. And I was pleasantly surprised that both of them defied my dour predictions about Germany in the Champions League this week.
Yeah. Have faith, Peter. Have faith in the Bundesliga. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to Sunday. Yeah, let's move on. So let's have a look at the Sunday game. So we've got HSV versus Stuttgart. That looks quite a nice looking fixture. I'm sure that's going to be a hell of an atmosphere there. It's a pity they've chosen that for the earlier kickoff, because I guess there would have been some brilliant pyro and things if that was a later game. You know, it's in fashion to kind of stand behind pyro at the moment. I thought I'd get the mention in. So yeah, but with it being an earlier game, although it is winter, so it is up in Hamburg, so it'll probably be dark anyway at 3:30 in the afternoon. So yeah,
hero in the day, Mark.
Yeah. We've seen it a number of times. Yeah. To be fair, we have. Yeah.
And it's not fashionable. It's the right Pirotechnik ist doch kein Verbrechen.
Exactly.
I'll sing the song for you on this pod sometime.
Long live Pyro. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the game. So yeah, Haas-Fauer on a bad run, I'm afraid, guys. Yeah. Obviously, Merlin Pulse inside. They picked up, I think, in late September, October. But this has been a bad month. November has been a wretched month for them. They've only picked up 1 point from the last 5 outings. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised based on the current form if they go a similar kind of run again, because they have very little goal threat at times. It looked as though Ryan Philippe was going to be the man, didn't it? But he's just completely, as it often happens with these, promoted teams, he has 4 good games and then he just completely dropped off a cliff edge the last couple of games. And he couldn't even get on the pitch. I think he only got a very short run out against Augsburg the other week. He's still going with Königsdörfer, though. I really don't know why. I mean, obviously, he got that goal against Dortmund, which was a good header, to be fair. But I don't understand why he gets every single game started. I think he's underused Poulsen at times this season. I think Dompe as well should be getting more regular game time for me. He should be a regular starter. I just don't like his lineups at times, Poulsen, and I don't know where he kind of rated some of these guys from. I feel as though Vieira is disappointed a little bit, to be honest. Obviously 2 red cards, and he's too lightweight for me. He's always on the floor, like crying for a free kick, and you just don't get that in the Bundesliga. You know what I mean? I think referees have kind of already taken a disliking to Fabio Vieira, and they need a bit more from him, truth be told. They're a solid team, I guess, similar to City rival St. Pauli in many ways, I guess. There's a lot of similarities between the two. I think they're a solid team, hard to break down. They don't concede bags of goals, but they just don't score enough. That's the problem for me. And they don't really create enough either at times. So even though Stuttgart do have a trip tonight, they're in action right now as we speak against Go Ahead Eagles, the brilliantly named Go Ahead Eagles, from the Netherlands, which, by the way, is the former club of the much maligned our boy, Powell, the already sacked manager.
You've forgotten his name already.
I've already forgotten his name. Yeah. It's been a long day, but let's just call him Powell. Yeah. I really have. Yeah. I can barely remember what he looks like, to be honest. He lasted that little time, but yeah. Anyway, this should be a Stuttgart win for me, to be honest. Stuttgart coming back into form. Dennis Undav has been the gift that keeps giving in recent weeks. He's back on form, just in time potentially for the World Cup as well. I thought his hat-trick was just classic Dennis Undav last week, a brilliant hat-trick. So I've gone for a 2-0 win here for the VfB, who are going to win this game quite comfortably. Peter?
Yeah, we sync up exactly. This one's probably the easiest one of the weekend, besides Bayern Pauli, to tip, in the sense that, as you pointed out, I mean, Poulsen, his experiments haven't been working out well. And he's still going with Königsdörfer because Poulsen, not head coach Poulsen, but striker Yusuf Poulsen keeps getting injured. And I think Robert Glatzel, much as I wanted him to be ready for the Bundesliga level, I guess he's not.
I'm surprised because he was like a Zweite Liga legend. He was banging in like 20-plus goals a season.
Yeah, the last time he was in the top flight with Mainz, he actually played quite well. Granted, I think that was 4 years ago, so a lot can happen. But yeah. So you're right, and I think Vieira, or Vieira, as I like to call him, to make sure I'm spelling his name properly. I think he's going to be a healthy scratch and start on the bench in this one. So yeah, Pauli are simply not looking good. The back three, which has he broke up the Rocky Rambo axis of Nicholas Capaldo and Remberg, I should say. Yeah, so I think the back three, it's good enough to keep Stuttgart to 2 goals here. But that's about it. 2-0 victory for the Baden-Württemberger. The Württemberger, they're not Baden. The Württemberger sweep.
You've set your foot in it there, calling them Baden. But technically, according to officially, they are, they're Baden-Württembergers. But anyway, yeah, let's move on. So Frankfurt-Wolfsburg, yeah, obviously a a lot of German teams have had good weeks in Europe, but sadly Frankfurt weren't one of them. And once again, they fell into the Atalanta curse, a team who just love playing Bundesliga teams, don't they? Obviously, beating Leverkusen in the Europa League final, and last season they won away at VfB Stuttgart in the
Ademela Lookman, he's got a chip on his shoulder for the Bundesliga.
I think he does. Yeah, really. Yeah, it's unbelievable. He just loves playing Bundesliga teams. But this was I'm going to be honest, it was a horror performance really from Frankfurt, who I just don't feel as though Topmüller is really a Champions League standard coach, to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I think he's got a good squad of players, but he's still not. At times, he's getting the best out of them, but you feel as though this could be like a top 2, top 3 team with the right coach, I think. And it's not that he's done badly, and I'm not calling him to be sacked by any means, but it's all a little bit underwhelming from them at times with such a good squad of players, really such a good squad of players. But I mean, defensively, they just don't do it, and it's a big problem. But anyway, for this game, it's a much easier challenge than playing Atalanta Bergamo, I feel. Wolfsburg are horrendous, basically. Let's be honest. They really are. Not a good football team. Only 8 points from 11 games, which is very, very worrying for them. I mean, the writing's been on the wall for a while that you feel as though a relegation could be coming for them, really. This season, they might really get it, to be honest. I mean, at least the playoff, although I guess Heidenheim and St. Pauli have got other ideas about that, unless they can buck their ideas up consistently. As for this game, Johnny B did go off against Atalanta, and by the look of it, he's not going to make it for this game. It did look like quite a bad knock from what I saw. Have you got any information on that one, Peter?
Yeah. There was an MRI today, and Frankfurt, much to our collective chagrin, those of us who report on the Bundesliga, did not provide great details, but they just said that he's out indefinitely.
So he's going to be out for this game.
Yeah. Well, basically what that means is that it was a bad MRI. I generally forget whether, when you do an MRI, when you say it was positive or it was negative, those two words, you can mix those up because it was a positive bad diagnosis or there was a negative. But in any case, out for this game. He's a confirmed out for this game.
Yeah.
Who leads the line? Will it be Michy Batshuayi? I sincerely hope not. Will it be Elie Wahi? I don't know. I mean, even against a dumpster fire club such as Wolfsburg, and it is a horrible dumpster fire of a club. You go ahead with your tip, and I'll chime in with my thoughts.
Normally, you would say Frankfurt win this game, but I don't know, really. Like last time we saw them come into a game after a Champions League, they just about scraped past Mainz with a very late goal. I think it was 85 minutes, and in what was a pretty drab game, truth be told. And you would say that Wolfsburg at the moment is a similar standard team to Mainz, really. So, under two underperforming sides. Yeah, it's a tough one, but I'm actually going to go for a kind of mini shock in this one. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, which is probably not the most exciting shock you're going to hear all year. But I just feel as though Frankfurt are due a kind of really poor result in a way. The way they lost against Atalanta was really poor, truth be told. They were just battered in that game, and 3-0 flattered them. I think Atalanta hit the inside of the post like 2 or 3 times in that game as well as the 3 goals. So, yeah, I feel as though Wolfsburg, they've got obviously they do have good players at that club. We all know that. And they're not always so bad. But I've got the feeling they'll have enough to get a point in this game because Frankfurt are going to be a little bit fatigued. They've had a lot of football. They're missing Johnny B. And let's be honest, Johnny B is so important. They don't really have a backup striker. That's the truth. I mean, Batshuayi and Wahi are just garbage basically nowadays, let's be honest. So 1-1. Peter?
I will go with the 1-0 Frankfurt scraping by, just as they did against Mainz after the last Champions League fixture, or that other Champions League fixture that you were referring to. It's essentially Knauf can start up front. He's not exactly the tallest character. But he can still. So I mean, they're not going to be a huge threat in the air from open play or off of dead balls. But I think that Knauf can start up front and get it done. I think you're absolutely correct about Wolfsburg. And I've said that many times in this pod. I'm really going to keep doubling down on it. This decision to sack both Simonis and Zierlotz while keeping Christiansen in place was idiotic. And now Christiansen is scrambling. He cannot find a sporting director. He couldn't even lure Andreas Schicker away from Hoffenheim. This is going to get really, really ugly. He can't recruit a sporting director. He can't recruit a head coach. The squad, as always, is horribly balanced. But in his case, I mean, he really pulled the trigger on some horrible decisions involving some of his countrymen. And I hate to include Christian Eriksen in that. And I don't like, mentioning Jesper Lindstrom and stuff like that. I mean, Lindstrom's been hurt. But, I mean, it's just, yeah, they're going to keep losing. And he's going to get the axe. And it's going to be, I'm getting Schalke vibes from, their relegation season, their 2020-21. They're in Schalke territory. There's going to be another wave of managerial, that is in the German parlance, front office sackings. And there may be 2 or 3 more trainers for this club this season. They're in hot water. They are in shit.
Yeah, they are. They really are. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But anyway, moving on to the final game of the weekend, 2 sides that have been in European action already this evening didn't get the most inspiring results. Obviously, Freiburg got a 0-0 draw in Pilsen. Quite ironic, because I was actually in Pilsen just on my way to Prague last week. Yeah, I actually had a pint of beer in Pilsen right near the stadium, ironically too. So if I'd have known it was a week later, I would have gone a night earlier and seen the game probably. But yeah, it was actually a Victoria Pilsen bar, which I thought was quite funny, really, the fact that Freiburg were playing over there today. But they got a 0-0 draw, which is okay. It keeps them unbeaten in Europe, and they're still going very well to get in that top 8 and avoid the playoff round, which is excellent for them. As for Mainz, so unfortunately they faced a first defeat, a first drop points against Universitatea Craiova of Romania, which is quite a disappointing result. It's a similar game to what most of Mainz's season has been, really. It's been very tight, not many goals for either side involved in them. But in this case, they lost out to a penalty in the final third of the game, which is, again, frustrating for Mainz, that the season just can't get going for them, can it? They don't score goals this season. I don't know why. Even in Europe, the wins have mostly been 1-0, they're really struggling to get goals, and they're not really creating enough at times as well this season. Only 11 goals from 11 games, which is not typical for Mainz, who have been a free-scoring side for a number of years, really now. They've always had a very exciting attack. Hollerbach is just not able to get into games at the moment. He didn't start tonight, but again, didn't score last week, did he? There's a lot of problems over there at Mainz at the minute, and everyone keeps saying they're going to pick up. They're better than what the results they're getting. But at the end of the day, if you don't score goals, you're not going to win games, and that's the problem for them. It's still a good team. They've got a lot of that midfield is superb with Amiri and Sano. I feel as though it's a really strong midfield axis. Nabel hasn't quite hit the heights of last season for me. That's been one of the problems. I don't feel as though he's been as good. And obviously the main problem is that they're missing Johnny B. They're missing our boy, Obviously, Dominic Kor got yet another red card last week. I mean, how many is that for the season? How many is that for his career now? I mean, he must be in double figures. I mean, it's 9 red cards. Wow, yeah. I mean, every time you see Mainz have got a red, you're like, it's Dominic Kor.
Nine sending offs, not 9 red cards. Well, okay, I guess that makes 9 red cards.
Still, yeah, I mean, it's enough. It's enough for a career, let's say that much. Yeah, and he's not even that old, I believe, right? He's only it's still 20s, I think. Yeah. But anyway, it's not looking good for Mike. They're still 31 now, yeah. But still, he's got another 3-4 years in him, maybe. But unless Mainz can start picking up results, it's not going to be as a Bundesliga side for Mainz, because they are struggling. Nobody's talking about them as relegation candidates even now, including myself. I don't think they'll go down, but they have to start getting results. And Freiburg is not an easy place to go. They do tend to win at home. They're a very strong home side. They're another one that have not really set the league alight in the Bundesliga this year. I feel as though in Europe they've been very good. But in the Bundesliga, it seems as though they're prioritizing cups this season, from what I can see. But they should get a win here. I don't think it's going to be a massively high-scoring game, this one, considering both sides have had away trips in Europe. So I've gone for a 1-0 Freiburg here. Peter?
Well, I kept a close eye on both matches this evening while working, of course. And the thing that's important to keep in mind here is that Freiburg he didn't really rotate. Schuster didn't. Well, he did in the sense that he put Suzuki at 10, and he'll probably put Manzambi at 10 on Sunday. But he went with Grifo and Besta, and his best, with the exception of Günther, probably the most solid back four that he has. Whereas Henriksen rotated like mad. I mean, when I saw that Mainz team sheet, it was Arnaud Norden spearheading the attack, William Böving and Ben Bobzian. Kaishu Sano was rested. Nicholas Faatschnig was the left wing back. And of course, the reason he rested Sano was that Amiri is suspended for this match, as is Core, obviously. So he wanted to give Leonard Maloney, our old American friend, the old American in the Bundesliga friend from his good Heidenheim days, a chance in midfield. And so that's what he's going to do. He's going to do Sano and Maloney in midfield on Saturday. With I don't know how with Da Costa probably back in place of Core in the back three, potentially Mwene if he's healthy, filling in at left wing back. So Mainz is going to have the fresher squad of better players. It's in that vein that I'm going to go ahead and tip and I'm not pleased to say this because I have a Freiburg membership, but I'm tipping a 2-1 away win for Mainz in this instance. You talk about when are they going to get their season rolling in the Bundesliga, at least. I think this weekend's the weekend, in my opinion.
Yeah. Would be a big tip, that one, if they were to get it. But it's definitely good logic there, because they were. I was shocked to see how weak they went for tonight. But I guess it makes sense. You've got to start winning in the Bundesliga, otherwise. There'll be Conference League champions playing in the second league, won't they? So, yeah. Anyway, so that concludes our predictions, our 9 games for the weekend. So, yeah, let's just conclude with a little bit of information for you. So, remember, if you enjoyed the show today, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications as well. We're not only a podcast, we're not only a YouTube channel, we're also a podcast as well. So check us out on Spotify and Apple. And also don't forget to find us on social media too, on X, Instagram, and the like. And also don't forget our partnerships with Bully News as well, the English-speaking or English-writing Bundesliga site. And also, of course, with Covert Footy Trips. Rich is fantastic. Company over there in Norwich. He's always sending the guys out. I follow him on Instagram. Check him out on Instagram as well. He's got a great channel which shows where all of his guys go out, and it's superb to see it, really. He sends them to Italy, to Germany. Obviously, one of his main ones, Germany, but he also does a lot of work in Italy and all kinds of obscure destinations as well. So check them out too. Maybe Peter, you can even book one of them too one day. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, have a great time, guys, and we'll see you again on the other side of the weekend on Monday to talk about it all. So see you then. Ciao, ciao, guys.